Then we should push the lights a bit more on the front here.
I don't think you can. Anyhow.
I think all the lights in the front are on.
Yeah, they are. It's good. You can see it. It's quite clear. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
You're trying to see yourself.
Now I'm going to hide myself. Yeah.
Yeah, but now I think that's worse. No?
No, actually, I think it's better. Just sit down. Let's get on with it.
But Mario's in the shadow.
Let's just go.
So,
Yeah.
Ed Thorpe at this point wants to publish his fantastic winning strategy for blackjack. He decided to publish it on this fantastic journal, and the only guy who can present the article to the journal is Claude Shannon. Now, you didn't know who Claude Shannon was, right? So Claude Shannon was a superstar. So this is 59 now.
I knew.
So that was in 55. He started playing around with the roulette and so on. In 59,
4 years.
4 years after, he goes to. This guy is billionaire now. Okay, so this guy, and this guy died billionaire. No, died millionaire.
Yeah. Only millionaire?
Only millionaire.
No, that's not right.
He invested in like 20 shares in his life. He made millions investing in 20 shares.
Wow.
Yeah. And he knew where to invest.
Yeah.
Completely different strategies. So this guy was buying and selling, this guy was buying and stock. Because you have to know which company. Okay, anyway, it's another story. So in 59, Claude Shannon is a superstar. Because in 45, he published an article which is a mathematical theory of communication, which starts, which is the one which introduces the word, the use of the bit. I mean, the word was introduced before, but he's the one who actually starts working with information as something mathematically useful. No? You can use a tool to measure information. By the way, this guy also, particularly, he wrote 2 articles. Was the mathematical theory of information. I was very lazy. He didn't want to write articles at all. He was just taking notes and notes and notes, but he didn't like to write papers. And then the other article was his, actually he's sleeping here, was his master thesis. Well, now we give as obvious that we can use circuits to make Boolean computations. Yeah, he was the guy who thought that maybe switches could be used to make Boolean computation. So he's the guy who actually created modern mathematics on computers. Now, von Neumann creates like the architecture of the computer, but he's the one who actually understood that computers could be used for mathematics before Neumann. Neumann is different. Thorpe asked for an appointment with Shannon. He's in the MIT, so of course he's granted an appointment. He goes there, and the secretary tells Thorpe, "Look, you're probably going to get no more than 5 minutes if you're lucky. So if the article is interesting for Dr. Shannon, Professor Shannon. If he's not interested, he's going to throw you out immediately." So after 5 minutes, Shannon says, "Okay, the article I think is fine. I don't like the title. The title was How to Win on Blackjack, something like that." And so on. And Shannon rightfully says maybe it's better, something more mathematical, winning strategy, and so on. And then Shannon asked, "Do you have any other project in mind, something similar?" And then Thorpe said, "Well, actually, I have the roulette. So I want to build something to win at the roulette." And he explains, if the roulettes are actually so perfect, we must be able to exploit this fact. And like 2 hours later, that's what Thorpe writes. 2 hours later, they were still talking about the roulette plan. Now, Shannon was actually the right person. First of all, he was a juggler. He was renowned for arriving in the office on a mono wheel,
Really?
juggling. He's the one who invented one of the few articles, which was not an article, just something writing somewhere. He invented a language for juggling, which has which led to an explosion in juggling. Because once you can actually, tell people your schema with a language, it's very easy to improve the juggling, your juggling. So you can learn from the others quite quick. Instead of watching them and trying to understand what they do, now they have a language. So they can immediately understand which kind of schema another juggler is using, redo it, improve it, and bumping the information around. So he was also, he's quite renowned for that as well. And he was an engineer as well, so he liked to play with stuff and so on. He had one of the things Thor says is that he had an artificial finger like the Adam family, which would come out of the box and do like that. So when he was in the basement, he wanted to call his wife. He would do something, and then the artificial finger would come out of the kitchen and do like that to his wife. It was completely a really crazy guy. So it took, I think, like something more than 1 year to have a working device, which Thorpe claims is the first portable computer ever. So it's not really a computer, because as a computer we intend something different. That was a completely analog device. But it was working, that's what they claim. I don't believe them, because I honestly, with better computers now, I wasn't able to...
Like a billion times faster.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, he claims that it worked. And more than what he claims, I think it's fantastic what they did anyway. So the interface they built at the moment, of course, I mean, it was as big as an iPhone, but there was no touch screen, nothing. So and it was very dangerous as well. I mean, if you go it was not yet forbidden, but if you go to Las Vegas, which was in the hands of the mafia, and you start winning a lot, and you have a device, and it's not nice. So they prepared a schema. There were two wives. They went to Reno. There were two wives checking that everything was fine, that no one was actually watching them. Then they had a phone, an earphone, which was very rare at the time. So I think they made it. I don't know. But it was also very fragile, so it had to be repaired a few times and so on. There was one guy, which was Shannon, who was very agile and so on, measuring the velocity of the wheel and the ball with his feet. So he was able to record the velocity with a precision of 1/100th of a second. With it.
Really?
Yeah. That's what he claims. But it's pretty fair. I mean,
it's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, but 100. Come on.
1/100th of a second.
1/100th of a second.
Yeah, no, it's fine to understand the velocity.
Measuring with your feet.
So what he was doing, Shannon was close to the wheel, measuring, and so he was doing something like that. He was giving the information to the device in his pocket. The information was wirelessly given to Thorpe, and Thorpe has these earphones. So why? Of course, there were no voice synthesizers. I mean, it's not going to say based on number 38.
Yeah.
No, 38. No, whatever. 88. So.
Market for the presentation.
So what did they do? Is that the first time Shannon was measuring the velocity. The first time Shannon was measuring the velocity of the wheel. So he was taking the green, the red, the 0. Then he was pushing once, and then after say 4 spinnings, 4 laps again. So the computer could record the velocity of the wheel. But they could not record anything. There was no memory. So they had an analog system which was producing 8 sounds like ta 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 like that. So the velocity of the loop of these 8 notes loop ta 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 was proportional to the velocity of the wheel. So the wheel was slower, the loop would be ta 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 and so on. Faster ta 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 ta. Then Shannon would measure the velocity of the speed of the ball, in the other direction. So tick, tick, and then the loop would stop. So all the computations were made automatically. Let's say automatically. There was no computation. Right? It was just a circuit which would stop given the interval of time after the first 2 switches. And then so Thorpe would hear just one sound. So it would stop at the right on the right note, and Shannon had to understand which kind of note it was. So the first, the second, or the 8, and so on. And for that, he would know which of the octants was the most probable one. Now, very easy. So of course you had to memorize for each octant all the numbers, and then he would play a few numbers on the octant, which was given by the device.
When was this?
Eh?
When was this? 59?
59, yeah, 59.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they went there, and Thorpe claims that they won some money, and then I don't know. Maybe they won. Maybe there is no proof they actually won something. They don't make a real analysis. They the uncertainty, whatever, confidence. So maybe they won just because they were lucky. But anyway, what they did, I think, was amazing. Anyway, and after that, Thorpe went back to California, and then he became a manager. No? He created his first hedge fund because he started using actually information theory for hedging. What's the risk on my investment? So he started with the concept of hedging your risk, and he's the one actually who created for the first time the Black-Scholes equation. I don't know if you've ever heard about that. So Black-Scholes is like the equation you use for pricing the options. He's the one actually who first used this equation. Black-Scholes did something different, but the equation itself was created by Thorpe. So he had a method to price options. It was the only one. So he knew the probability of an option would expire or not at the right price and so on. So I mean, he made millions anyway out of that. So why this story is important? Because what we did here, and also I mean all the financial stuff, it's purely theory of information. So you have to understand how much you can bet given a certain advantage you have. Okay. So normally people have a 1 probability out of 37 to win. If you have 1 probability out of 36, you shouldn't bet still. No? Because, if you have 1 probability of winning, 1 probability out of 20, then you should bet. Okay. How much you should bet? There is also an equation for that. You shouldn't bet everything because it doesn't mean that you are going to win for sure. So you have to hedge your bet and so on. But the main stuff is information. So what Shannon did in his article, Mathematical Theory of Information, was actually finding what is called now the entropy. Have you heard the entropy of a string? The entropy of a language and so on. So if you have a certain characters and so on, I say what's the entropy? How random they appear to us? No? And that was Shannon was working on. But immediately after this article was written, there were mainly linguists working on that. So one was, of course, one was Chomsky. The other one was Umberto Eco. I don't know if you know him, the name of the roses. I mean, Umberto Eco was an ingenious semiologist when he was young. So I think he's from the 1930. And in 61 he published a small book, which is Opera Aperta, open work, where one chance, there are actually 4 essays. One essay is about the theory of information. And I think that, Eco essay is fantastic for using the theory of Shannon in a more human way, in a more human environment. So what does it mean, theory of information for us? Okay, then I will read a quote from a modern philosopher. So Eco says, in the amount of information someone is giving to me is what I always say, is how much it lowers my uncertainty. If I think that I have 1 probability out of 37 of winning, so it means that I have 30. Can I simplify stuff and just say 32 numbers?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a
Please.
power of 2.
Yeah.
Please.
Let's say before I have 32 chances of winning,
Mm-hmm.
so my uncertainty, let's say, is 32. Okay. After the engine of Thorpe and Shannon, my uncertainty is 1 out of 8. No? Again, I'm simplifying a lot, but let's say that the device is able to give me exactly the winning octant. So is I have 32 divided by 8 is 4, right?
Yeah.
It's not. So it's one of 4 numbers, right? So it's one of these 4 numbers.
Yeah.
I know that this one is the winning one. It's one of these 4. So initially you could say, okay, the information is 32 minus 4, right? So okay, it gives me an information of 28. The problem is that the information the device is now it's getting a bit mathematical. But just a little bit.
Yeah.
Not, you shouldn't be. So the information of 2 games to spinning should be twice as much. Okay, but the information that the device gives me on two spinnings, the first time is 32, the second time is 32. So the number of possible outcomes is 32 times 32, right? So which is 1024.
Yeah.
It goes to 16.
Mm-hmm.
So this means that the reduction of uncertainty is 1024 less 16 is 1008, if I'm correct. So the first is not the sum. Okay. So the information on one game, we said, is 28. The information on 2 games should be 56. It's not 56, you see. We said it's 1008. So this is wrong, for sure.
Yeah.
But what Shannon explains this in a different way, but is the same. He's a bit more axiomatic in this article. So of course, if we take the logarithm, everything works fine. So the first time we have 5, right? To the 5th. It's 32.
2.
It's 5, and it goes to 2. So the information is 3. I might make some mistakes, so just tell me. If we take 2 gains, is the uncertainty at the beginning is 10. I take the logarithm, base 2 of course, of 1024. It's 10. 16 is 4. The logarithm is 4. So the info is 6. Which makes sense, no? So the information given on the two subsequent games is twice the information of one game, which is perfect. So we know the info says the logarithm base 2 of the number of possible outcomes. Possible outcomes before the message, less the logarithm base 2 of the number of possible outcomes after the message. Okay, and actually, that's very easy to understand, I think, and that's all. Okay, then Shannon's article is fantastic, but that's really the what we have to know. Now, with that, we can go further. First of all, we normally don't work in a number of outcomes, we work in probabilities. So we can say easily that is minus logarithm of the probability of getting it right before. You agree? This is sorry. Right?
Yeah.
Minus logarithm by 2 of getting right after. So this is quantitative information. Then we start analyzing this part. Okay, what does it mean, this logarithm of probability? Now, if you take a look at the function, It's like that. It's something like that. So if the probability of an outcome is 1, it goes here, right? The logarithm of 1 is 0.
Mm.
If it goes to 0, it's plus infinite. So
Yeah.
minus. Sorry. Oh, sorry, we lost one.
Okay.
So it goes to infinite. I'm sorry. So now think about your surprise. So how much you are surprised about something. If I leave this pen and goes down, what's the probability as far as you know of this pen going down? 1. It's 100%.
Yeah.
So your surprise that it goes down is actually 0 because if I leave the pen and it goes up, it will be the first time in our life that we see something going up instead of down. Something we think having a probability 0, our surprise will be infinite,
Mm.
right? So something with little probability happening has a higher surprise. Then we can define then the uncertainty instead of information. We can define the uncertainty in a certain system. So if we take a coin. What's that?
I'm gonna call something here.
Sorry, Mario.
There you are.
Hey, sorry, my line just dropped.
No.
So now we have to introduce the uncertainty. The uncertainty is actually what Shannon calls entropy in the algorithm. So what's the uncertainty on a system? Let's say you are never surprised. So the uncertainty is the average surprise you have on a system. If you have no surprise, you will say that the uncertainty is very low, right?
Mm.
If you have a lot of surprise, then the uncertainty for you is very high. So let's try to measure the average uncertainty on a system. So let's take the most trivial system ever, always, which is the tossing a coin. No?
Mm.
So head and tail.
Mm.
Normally we have the probability of head equal to 0.5 and the probability of tail equal to 0.5. So what's the average surprise of a coin, of tossing a coin? Surprise, S, which is also the symbol for entropy, is we said minus logarithm base 2 of 0.5 is the surprise associated to this outcome.
Yeah. Mm.
Minus logarithm base 2 of 0.5 is the surprise associated with that. So the average, how many times we are going to have this one? 0.5. No, half of the time we're going to have head on average. So it's 0.5 times that plus and here 0.5 times that, right?
Mm.
So that's the average surprise of the system coin, which we can also write omega, so E in omega, where omega are all the possible outcomes of the system, as the sum of minus pi logarithm base 2 of pi, okay, which you probably have seen already before, no?
Mm.
No, never.
Well, maybe. I don't remember it now.
But you will now.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is the uncertainty on a system. Okay, the sum of all the surprise, the possible associated to every outcome, times the probability that we are going to have a certain outcome.
Mm.
Okay, so this is the entropy, which is the one actually we want to optimize. Okay, but then there is a doubt. Okay, how can we optimize if the probability is actually something which is inherent in the system, right? So how can we optimize the surprise for a coin? I mean, a coin is always going to be 50%. So what can we do? Now we have to think that actually. So first of all, I'd like to make one sentence bracket. The definition of entropy by von Neumann. You know him?
Von Neumann?
Yeah.
Yeah, the computer architecture.
Yeah. He was also quite ingenious mathematician.
Okay.
He's the one who advised Shannon to call this formula entropy and not uncertainty. He said, yeah, because no one actually understands what entropy is, so I mean, no one is going to say anything. Don't worry. Actually, the only one who for sure understood what entropy was von Neumann himself. And von Neumann defines the end. It's a wonderful story. I mean, he's going from really from Gibbs, Clausius. I mean, from the early days of entropy in thermodynamics, through Einstein to von Neumann. And von Neumann defines entropy as the difference in information, or in knowledge, between the macro system, the macro system, and the micro system. So like temperature is the average, okay? But if I look at the particles themselves, they have a velocity, no? Each one has a velocity. So I say, okay, there is entropy associated to temperature, because I'm just deleting a lot of stuff, deleting a lot of information. I'm just making a huge average. And this is the entropy. So the missing knowledge between what's actually happening in a system, inside the system, and what you're actually giving to the observer. So the macro observation. Is getting too much?
No. This is very interesting.
It's almost finished anyway.
Yeah.
And there are 2 more lessons. So what does it mean? So how it is possible to optimize uncertainty. So let's go back to the coin. So for the coin, we have S. Now we're going to write in a different way. But I'm going to do minus Q H logarithm of P H minus Q tail logarithm of P tail. Okay? Now, what does it mean? We said that this part with the minus is a surprise, right? The surprise is not given by the probability of something happening. The surprise is given by the probability we think something happens, right? So if we think that, now, if I put a magnet here, and this is iron, okay, the actual probability of this going down is 0, because there is a huge magnet here. So if I know that the magnet is there, the probability, the surprise for me of leaving this pen and seeing going up is 0. Yeah, I know it's gonna, for you, it's going to be infinite.
Yeah.
Okay, because you give this probability 0. But the probability is not inherently, the probability of going up is 100%. The probability of going down is 0. Okay, so actually this part, this P, is the observer's knowledge. It's not the inherent probability of the system. While this part, the Q, is actually the inherent probability of something happening, right?
Okay. Oh.
So this is because we said it's the average. So let's say we have a coin which has a head 80% and tail 20%. So this is going to be 80, so 0.8. This is going to be 0.2, right? This is going to be, it's our probability. We don't know that the coin is biased. So this is going to be 0.5 and 0.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What's the average surprise? It's always 0.5 because it's 0.8 times the surprise, and 0.2. I mean, these 2 values are the same, so of course the average is always minus the logarithm of so it's 1. Okay. But now let's do the other way around. So I come to you, and I always you know that I usually have a bias coin. Okay. So I come to you and say, okay, I know Mario. Now he's going to trick me with his bias coin. So you're going to think that these, you're going to think these probabilities. But actually, I'm using an unbiased coin. Okay, I'm going to use an unbiased coin, and then it's going to be minus 0.5, the logarithm of. Sorry, it's minus 0.5.
Minus
I use it unbiased. Yeah,
Unbiased
it
is minus
biased,
0.5.
sorry.
Yeah.
And you put here 0.8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then minus 0.5 logarithm over 0.2. In this case, the uncertainty, so while here the uncertainty was 1 bit, here the uncertainty is 1.37 bit, more or less. And we have a higher uncertainty. And this goes back to actually a theorem by Gibbs, who was studying simply thermodynamics and nothing to do with information theory, who said that this equation, the minimum of this equation, when we have Q here, so when we have two different things here, which are probabilities, so the sum is always 1, of course, no? The minimum is when Q is equal to P. Okay, this is like, for me, it's mind-blowing anyway, because it says that a system has an inherent, facts, we're sleeping again. A system has an inherent probability and so on, but our uncertainty of the system, on the system, is when we know exactly the perfect outcome, no, the probability, the perfect probability, the real probability of each outcome. The important thing is that whenever we think that the probability of the outcomes have a certain distribution, and this is the wrong distribution, our distribution is wrong, we are going to make something worse. I mean, our situation is going to be worse. So it's always better to think, in the case of a coin, it's always better to think that the coin is fair. Because even if it isn't fair, our uncertainty is going to be 1 bit anyway.
Yeah.
If we think it's biased and the coin is not biased, we're going to waste money. So if we're going to apply the same the same stuff they applied in Thorpe applied in investing money, here we're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
Here we're not going to lose any money in the end. Okay. So this is the nice thing, and then I'm done, is that actually this was already expressed by Socrates just before dying.
So they're just a bunch of copiers.
Yeah, but Socrates said it without mathematics.
Yeah, it's a philosophy.
Yeah. So Socrates wanted to say that that he was told to be the wisest man on earth by the oracle of Delphi. So what does he mean, the wisest man? Actually, the wisest man is the one which does not apply any prior knowledge. Okay. If you apply your prior knowledge and you're wrong, you're much worse off than someone who's naive and ignorant and admits his or her own ignorance. So the worst is thinking, I know everything, I go there. I mean, this is, I'm so crazy about the initial probabilities of the conditions, because having wrong probabilities there screws everything up.
Yeah.
Wrong stuff is much worse than nothing at all. It would be much better to give the probability 1 over 500, which is the number of conditions we have, instead of having probabilities which are wrong. Because we are much better, much worse off. So what Socrates says, and then I shut up, is that he tries to justify the fact that he was judged evil by the people in Athens. He says, so after I came back from the oracle, I began to talk with a supposedly wise man, someone who thought himself very wise. I could not help thinking that he was not really wise, although he was thought wise by many, and wiser still by himself. And I went and tried to explain to him that he thought himself wise, but he was not really wise. And the consequence was that he hated me. So I left him, saying to myself as I went away, well, although I do not suppose that either of us knows anything really beautiful and good, I'm much better off than he is, for he knows nothing and he thinks he knows. I neither know nor think that I know. Yeah, which is what... I mean, he didn't express in logarithms.
For mathematician Socrates.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the end of the first lecture. The second lecture, if you want me to give another lecture, is about entropy. So how all these simple formulas in the end, how they are actually related to the entropy in thermodynamics. So what does it mean to be able to extract energy from a system? So why can I extract energy from a system? How the two things went together. So I don't believe that actually von Neumann told Shannon, just use this word entropy because no one. von Neumann, of course, he understood everything, and he knew that information and entropy were related. In thermodynamics, entropy is the ability of extracting energy from a system. So what does it mean that... I lost it. But it's finished anyway.
Yeah.
So what does it mean that information and energy are related? Okay, are related and so on. And then the third one is about networks. So how network can store information, how network can need to get energy in order to store information, and need information in order to get energy. So how life works. Okay.
Ah.
That's all. It's more than 1 hour maybe.
Yeah.
Oh no, almost 1 hour, sorry. Done.
Are you done?
Thank you very much. Yeah. I don't know if I...
It's very interesting.